Okay, so I'm sitting here watching Angry Catfish. I start this video out of his, and he's got this new thing that he's doing, and one of the videos that he put out was actually quite impressive. What he's doing is trying to move...
It's my bioelectric field. That's all I'm claiming. I'm not claiming to be a guru. Anybody can do this. You have a magnet.
Let me turn him up a little bit.
Look, it comes towards me. Oops, I just touched it, so that doesn't count.
Okay. So what he was doing this with a shower curtain in another one of his videos. He's shown these dragon masters who can amplify and project it. And people are telling him it's just wind pressure, dude. You're hitting it with wind pressure. And I look at this video and I'm like, it's 2.5 hours long. I was like, holy crap, I ain't got that long to sit here and watch him play with this piece of paper. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, well, maybe I can do that. I don't know. And I look around and I go, and I'm like, huh. And this is exactly what he says, is that I'm pulling it towards me. It's not air. I'm pulling it towards me.
Y'all been doing the same damn thing. How you doing?
And he does it with a scrunchie.
You got it tangible. You can feel that. Greg Braden put instruments to it.
He just said Greg Braden put instruments to it.
Feel the suck. Right here.
We can all feel the suck, brother.
Right here. Does it not? How you doing, Cap?
My point is...
This shit's unprecedented.
Unprecedented. Well, not really, because in one of his most recent videos, he shows some people can amplify and project this. He shows one guy lighting a piece of paper on fire with his chi, life force energy, some people might call it. It's all new to me, too. I don't know anything about this. But that's why I'm sitting here going, well, I don't know. I'll find something around me and maybe I can do it. And everyone's going to say, well, that's just static electricity. Well, yesterday I had something else happen too. And it makes me think this static electricity / magnetism, this is probably what he's having happen. In his videos, this is his newest kick. By the way, that guy is trained by the Navy to navigate by the moon. And he is one of the very few that can see the moon should not look like this on the horizon or like that. What the hell? Oh my gosh, that bug just straight flew at me. It's a box elder bug. No worries. So this is one of the very few guys that can see that the moon moves in the sky in the ways that it didn't used to. Just to recap, on any given half moon night, and it does the same thing at full moon if you watch the craters in the moon. But when it's at half moon, it's the most easily able to be seen. It will rise on one horizon like this. And then by the time it reaches the other horizon, it should go whoop across the sky and land on the other horizon like this. Right? If it goes straight over your head like it used to. But now, if it rises like this, it will set like that. And if it rises like this on the second half of the moon, it will set on the other horizon like that. We've never seen a happy face moon or frowny face moon. I don't care what the Farmer's Almanac says about a wet moon. There are some people who can see it and some people who can't. And the people who can't love to run to the Farmer's Almanac and say, oh, no, it's always been that way, see? Someone wrote something online. Yeah. No, I don't remember ever seeing it that way, and neither does anyone else I've ever talked to. But the Farmer's Almanac, that's a bunch of old geezers who wrote stuff on paper, and they just transferred it onto the internet. You can trust that. That's the Farmer's Almanac. The moon spins 90 degrees as it goes over every night. If it went straight over, it would go like that, starting on one horizon, going straight over to the other horizon. It always moves, according to my perception, 90 degrees clockwise. Now, he says it's 180 degrees, and he gets all pissed off at this other guy called Scientific Lee for saying it's only a 90-degree rotation. Let's not split hairs. The moon is spinning in ways that it never has before. The question then becomes, why don't we see tidal waves to go with it? So, when I saw him doing his little magic trick, I thought, well, maybe I can do it. And sure enough, my first time, I didn't have to try it all. I was like, oh, yeah, I got it, man. I got it. But then it reminded me of something happened yesterday that I almost made a video about. And I think this static electricity is leading to greater forms of magnetism. And this guy's also a big fan of Greg Braden. You might have heard me mention him a few hundred times. The collective initiation, awakening to 0 point and beyond 0 point, the collective initiation. So what happened yesterday is I opened up one of these and I pulled this little, it's got a little staple right here keeping the thing down. I'm about to pull this one for you and show you to see if it does the same thing as it did yesterday. I pulled it with my pliers here, my multi-tool pliers. And I grabbed it. I'm just going to set this down here for a sec while I pull that out. Okay. Pulled it out. And when I tried to get it to go down, I was like, what the hell? And apparently it's doing it again on this one. Magnetized. What's magnetized? Is it the little... Is it the staple that's stuck to the end of my pliers? Or is it my pliers that are magnetized? And it reminded me of what Logic Before Authority said when he was starting to have a conversation with a guy at the store who got the vax. And he said, yeah, let's go check you, see if you're magnetic. Now, there might be a difference here between magnetic and metallic. If you put a magnet up to your arm and it sticks, that might just mean you got some metal inside you. If you put metal up to your arm and it sticks, that means you're magnetized. So when I saw this is magnetized, it reminded me of what Logic Before Authority said that guy said. That even his Leatherman or his pliers or his knife was magnetized. And he made the assumption, I must have magnetized the pair of pliers in my pocket because now that I'm magnetic, I'm magnetizing things that are, around me in my proximity. So you can see it's pretty well magnetic. I can't even knock it off there. There we go. Where'd it go? It's right there. Picked it back up with the magnetics. So, something about the electromagnetism changing in our environment appears to be changing the effects that we see, ranging from static electricity that might be doing something like this, to the fact that either my pliers or this little piece of metal is magnetized, or both. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about magnetization. And about those who are in alignment with something. You know, the old saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. From what I hear, you can magnetize a screwdriver by putting a magnet up to the screwdriver, and it comes in handy sometimes, a magnetized screwdriver. That way when you unscrew, the screw sticks to the end of your screwdriver, right? So you can magnetize a screwdriver, and then someone told me that you can unmagnetize it by whacking it against the ground, by whacking it real hard against something, that demagnetizes it and takes the molecular structure that's inside of it, and instead of having the point north on all of the little pieces, it redirects some of the orbital spin properties to where it no longer has a magnetic effect. And in something that is magnetized, all of the electrons are pointed in the same direction. I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. I'm kind of talking out of class. But what they said is that you don't just put a magnet up to your screwdriver to let it magnetize. You actually stroke the magnet all in one direction. If this is a magnet I'm holding in my hand, imagine I got a magnet in my hand and I'm trying to magnetize this. I would hold it up to it and move it in the same direction, and that this helps in producing a magnetic property to your screwdriver, because it aligns all the ions or all the electrons or whatever in alignment with one another, and that when you whack it against the ground, it demagnetizes it, because then suddenly the ions or the electrons are pointed in different directions. Some people's character, the fiber of their character, the fiber of their being is aligned with truth. Other people do not have any such alignment within them. They're like oblio. A point in all directions is like having no point at all. But if all of the fiber of your being and your character is all in alignment with one point, it's like your character becomes magnetic, and through the law of attraction, you draw into your life certain experiences. But if you're just kind of pointing in any which direction, whichever the way the wind blows on any given different day, based on whatever's self-serving at the time, oh, this is true today, that's true tomorrow, this is a good thing when I do it, it's a bad thing when this other person does it, and you don't have single standards. You have an underlying single standard that is self-serving. Your priorities and your principles are self-serving, and thus they reflect in your standards, which are not in alignment with one single truth. But whatever is self-serving today, then that's what's true. And whatever's self-serving tomorrow, even if it contradicts what I said today, then that's what's true tomorrow. Because the truth is your underlying priorities are self-serving. Thus, so are your principles and your standards of behavior. I'm going to give a full-throated shout-out to my Mormons, but I'm damned if I do, damned if I don't, because if I was a Mormon, you'd say I'm just engaged in an act of self-promotion. And the fact that I'm not a Mormon means you'll say that I'm just trying to get in good with them so that when the shit goes sideways, they'll take me in. Neither is the case. They attract and create a world worth living in based on the content of their character, the fiber of their character, all being in alignment with something good. Not just self-serving one different things on different days, whichever way the wind blows. And in that way, they attract and are attracted to good things. Oh, is that? No, that's copper. I don't think copper can be magnetic. Anyway, let me grab my little... Where is it? There it is. So, that full-throated discussion will come here in a minute on my next video when I have the camera turned around, because I can't make it switch around. But while I was doing dishes the other day, I noticed that my cooler that I got from DI, Deseret Industries, a secondhand store, like what most people know of as the Goodwill, except there's a lot better stuff at the DI than in any Goodwill. In fact, I took it for granted until I went to another state and tried to find a secondhand store to buy some things at and realized they ain't got shit in here. And what they do have is overpriced, worn out junk. But here in Utah, there's a thing called DI, Deseret Industries, which is where I got this. I guess I'll just go ahead and do this now. I really didn't intend to. Rob Bailey is what I saw when I was doing my dishes the other day. And they used to have what they call visiting home teachers, but they put an end to that because too many people wanted to start filing lawsuits. But the visiting home teacher came and gave me these blackberries. They're really good. Out of his own garden. A couple weeks before that, it was bell peppers. Out of his own garden. First fruits when the harvest season came. Now, I don't believe a word my mom says because, well, she doesn't have an alignment with truth. Whatever's self-serving in any given moment is what's true for her. But I have a pretty good ability to detect lies. We've talked about that. And maybe a year ago, it was right after I got back from my trip to Independence, Missouri. I told her I want to go down and talk to the bishop. I forget what it was that I had to say or wanted to talk to him about. But a lot of my experience has had a lot of overlap with the Mormons. The ideology. As man is, God once was. As God is, man may become. That's the law of eternal progression. They come from a planet Kolob. Who? The Elohim. The gods. The Elohim? Don't you mean God? Singular? No, that would be Eloha. Anything with I am is plural. Cherubim. Seraphim. Seraphim? You mean like Sarah Young? S-E-R-A-P-H? Sarah Young, the first woman to vote in Utah. I still haven't shown you that billboard, I don't think, but I've spoken many times about the seraphim and how when I speak of them, they show up. One time it was a guy standing right there next to my door signing for the bills that I had just delivered the load, and they signed their name and I asked their name so I can print it. What's your name? Seraphim. What? Seraphim. Like angels? Yeah, that's what it means, angel. I grab my camera, I tell the people what you just told me. His Seraphim, my name's Seraphim, it means angels. Because I had just made a video that day, or the day before, regarding Seraphim. The same thing happened on another video where I was talking about Seraphim, and right next to me a truck pulls up that has a picture of an angel with wings and a sword. And I jumped out and filmed that and said, this is no coincidence. The Serapeum. You know, the place where they took all the information from the Library of Alexandria after it was burned down by all those good Christians. And they took it to the temple dedicated to the worship of Serapis, S-E-R-A-P-I-S, which is a being with a Jesus face and a serpent body. S-E-R-A-P-H, Young. Sarah Young, the first woman to vote. On that billboard, it's not just talking about the libtard version of feminism, okay? My point is, I've had a lot of overlap with the Mormons and their ideology, and it's seeming to become closer and closer to the truth when either Brigham Young or Joseph Smith, I'm pretty sure it was Joseph Smith, said that the earth would be celestialized. That sounds like a great thing, don't it? Ooh, celestialized. I want to be celestialized. That sounds like it'd be great. Yeah, well, it'll be celestial and stuff. No, that comes from an 18-something Mormon Journal of Discourse, where he said, of course there are beings who inhabit the moon and the sun. The sun was made to give off light for all living beings, including those that live within or upon it. And in due time, the earth will also be celestialized in order that it will give off light as well. In other words, this planet is about to be turned into a sun. And I even made the joke about the CM2K, you know, the Celestializer Master 2000. Get it now while supplies last. Limited time offer. Celestializer Master 2000. Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. When I was talking about the sun simulator, like on The Simpsons, where they take a lens, create a laser using the sun, and destroy the whole town of Springfield. Link will be in the description for that one. But when I was referring to the sun simulator, a few times I called it the CM2K, the Celestializer Master 2000. You know, great device for celestializing the earth. There's been a lot of overlap between the spirit that leads and guides me and much of the Mormon ideology or cosmology, maybe even the doctrine and dogma. Not necessarily, because a lot of Mormons, you say Kolob, Elohim, and the law of eternal progression, their eyes will glaze over and go, huh? Yeah, planet Kolob, you know. Yeah, go down to Zion National Park. You'll see Kolob Canyon, Kolob Reservoir, Kolob Ridge, Kolob Road. K-O-L-O-B is the place from which the Elohim come, from near a planet Kolob, according to the Mormon cosmology. So there's been a lot of overlap between my experience and my understandings of Mormonism that are always ongoing and developing, like that Mormon Journal of Discourse that I just spoke of, which was only something that came to me just before I went to Missouri. And so when I got back here, I was like, I want to go talk to the bishop, Mom. And she was going down there to get a food order. They don't need food, but for some reason she still feels the need to go get donations to her food closet that was overran by mice that I had to clean out. They don't seem to remember that shit on the scorecard that they keep. Anyway. So maybe she was like, no. The bishop said he watches your YouTube page. She came out from going in, talking to the bishop, getting a food order when they don't need food. We're far from struggling. In fact, the last time they were going to order a food order, I told her, you better fucking not do that. You just bought a new car. Doug just put up a new fence outside, and you're going to order a food order? The hell's wrong with you? And I told you guys a long time ago, don't wait till the shit goes sideways and then call the bishop. Get in there now. See what you can do. Ask not what this community can do for you, but what you can do for this community. And so at the time, she comes out of her little meeting with the bishop ordering another donation they had no need for. But for some reason, she feels like if I don't keep ordering food orders and keep getting the welfare, then when I do need it, maybe it won't be there. So I need to keep this as a routine, regular thing or something. I don't know what the hell she's thinking. Maybe that's her only contribution to this family is going down to the bishop and getting a food order. So she feels like she's doing something for someone by going down and begging. Like sitting on the side of the road with a sign. But she comes out of there and says, oh yeah, the bishop says he watches your YouTube page. Oh, well, huh. And quite a while later, months later, maybe even a year later, I said, you're just playing, right? I mean, you were just saying that so I didn't go and say some shit, might embarrass myself. And so you can keep getting your food orders that you don't need. But you didn't, I mean, you said the bishop watches my YouTube channel. I mean, you're just playing, right? Oh, no, yeah. And ask her which bishop was that, and it really doesn't matter. And I think she said which name. It was one of the bishops at the time. They change positions. Sometimes, occasionally there's a transfer, onboarding and succession planning. It's not always the same person of the same ward anyway. So at the time, the bishop was probably a different dude than who is the bishop now. But when I asked her again, like a year later, I was like, you're just saying that so I didn't go say some crazy shit in front of the bishop, right? No, really. He watches your channel. He said he watches your channel. He said he's watched your YouTube channels. And I suspect that might actually be true based on the fact that I can tell when people are lying pretty damn good. And she seemed to feel it when she said, oh no, he really said he watches your channel. And at least one of my sisters still has a direct connect to the church, and considering all that I have revealed and been through in the last 3 years, from the plasma fire to the microchip to the sun tunnel to everything else, the black dot craft, the airborne aircraft carrier, the portal in the cathedral, and on it goes. She might have actually confided in the bishop, said, look, I don't know what the hell's wrong with my brother. Is he demonically possessed? Will you watch some of these videos and tell me what you think? Is he MK Ultra? What the hell's going on with him? So if nothing else, one of my sisters probably said, listen, Bishop, I think you should know. And in case they come to you, so you'll be caught up on what the backstory is here, watch my brother's YouTube channel. I don't know what the hell happened to him. Somehow, they got wind. And I think there's a good chance they do watch my channel, yet still bring me the first fruits of their hard work. Sure, you can go buy this. It was piled full, by the way, when he brought it over, and they're really sweet. Some of them are a little bit bitter, but for blackberries, they are really sweet. This is his personal labor from his personal garden, and I guarantee he didn't go to Walmart and buy these and then put them in something like this and claim that they were from his personal garden. They don't do that. This God don't lie. And the burning of the bosom is what they call it when the spirit is coming through, and it feels a lot like tears. It feels just like crying, but after you've gotten used to it for a while, you realize it's not tears of joy or sadness. It's just the same exact feeling from the same exact energy charging points of antenna from here in your chest. My point was, if they've been watching my YouTube channel, they're not like, ooh, stay the hell away from that guy. He's demonically possessed by all that satanic Luciferian. The dragon has a hold of him. No. They're not coming here. Yeah, sure, they say, I just wonder, how's your mom doing? Same as she has been for a long time. A spiritual black hole, a spiritual vampire sucking the life force energy out of anyone that gets in her proximity. But physically, she's hanging on. My point is, at this late hour, at the 11th hour, you don't waste your time, effort, energy, and resources on people that haven't even stepped up to the starting line. You might do an outreach to people who are close to the finish line. But at this late hour, when someone's 10 laps behind in a race where we have about 5 minutes left, you don't try and work with the ones that never even stepped up to the starting line. And they didn't say, give these to your mom and Doug. They said, here, we brought these over. They aren't repelled by the spirit that leads and guides me. They aren't scared. When I got back from Missouri, I even said to my mom, maybe I owe the bishop an apology for misrepresenting their religion, because much of what I said overlapped with and maybe even substituted some of their ideology, some of their doctrine, with my own thoughts and beliefs that seem to run very against the grain of what traditional, conventional wisdom about Mormonism is. And I said in front of my mom, maybe I owe the bishop an apology for misrepresenting Mormonism. She said, yeah, maybe you do. She wants to blow out someone else's candle to make hers feel brighter, and she takes every chance and every opportunity that comes her way to do so. This isn't about her. So, I have a lot of resources that I've stockpiled that, whether shit goes sideways or life as we know it just continues on and on and on, these resources that I've stockpiled I'll never use myself in my lifetime. It's very obvious, having purchased these resources that I have, that I've done so in expectation of being part of a community. Not what can this community do for me, but what can I do for this community? Things like bicycle pumps, because when the electricity goes out, everyone's used to using electricity, compressors to fill the tires. And they're going to be riding bikes a lot more. Cars, farm equipment, it all needs air in the tires, and a lot of people don't have bicycle pumps. So I bought more bicycle pumps than I'll ever use, including patches for the tires. They're very cheap. But when you can no longer get them, so I have more bike tire patches than I'll ever use in my lifetime. Whether it be, I'm basically turning my apartment here into a general store. Because when that time comes, the farmer, true value kicks in. Meritocracy funneled through bureaucracy creates credentialism. A similar process happens where meritocracy, true value, is restored. And a burlap sack is worth more than a Gucci bag. You go try and trade that Gucci bag to the farmer for some milk and eggs, and I don't have no use for that. You've been better off bringing me a few burlap sacks. I can use some burlap sacks for some things. I can't use that Gucci bag for nothing. Actual usefulness of things will kick in again. Rubber bands. Rubber bands. This is one of those headlamps, and it has a adjustable, let me turn it off so I don't waste my battery, has an adjustable thing where you can put it at any of the 3 spots, but it just kept falling forward off my head, and I had to keep lifting it back up because these little notches on the side where it used to hold it in 1 or 2 or 3 different positions have worn out, and it just keeps flopping forward on my head. And I have to keep going like that, and I'm looking down, and it flops again. And I think, oh, all I need is a rubber band. And I look, and I ain't even got a rubber band. We take it for granted right now because we don't use rubber bands, because we just buy new. No one's going to go around with the ear piece of their glasses rubber banded on. So they just go buy new. But when you can't go buy new, it's do with what you've got, fix it like MacGyver style. Rubber bands are versatile. There's 1,001 uses for a rubber band. The farmer will see that and say, oh yeah, in fact, I got to castrate my cows. You got to put plastic bags over your feet in the wintertime so the snow and water doesn't get in your shoes. There's a million different things you might have to do that a rubber band will go a long ways. We don't think of it because we don't live in a society where we repair or keep anything. We just go buy new. And we expect if I ever need rubber bands, I'll just go get some off the shelf. And then when you really need them, I got a giant bag of rubber bands for $20 is what I'm saying. And there are a lot of different things that are going to be of value because their actual usefulness that are right now are very cheap, dirt cheap. I could name off quite a few different things, and before the end of this video, maybe I'll make a list of things that you might not have thought of that'll actually make you of value and of service to a community. But I know you don't live in an area where you can buy 10 machetes for neighborhood watch because you couldn't hand them out to your neighbors and trust that they wouldn't use them against you. I can't trust my family as far as I could throw them, nor believe a word they say. But I could trust and believe in some of these guys because they live in accordance with principles and the inner fiber of their being is in alignment with truth. Judge them by their fruits. The fruits of the Mormons have been creating a society worth living in, a community worth existing within that can thrive because of the core values. Any relationship is based on beliefs, principles in common, your common likes and dislikes, right? And I'm kind of glad that these stereotypes that exist about Mormons, they're like the Jehovah's Witness. Oh yeah, they're like this cult that's like real staunch, and I'm glad that stereotype exists to keep everyone from flocking here who otherwise would. But those stereotypes only exist in places where Mormons don't really exist very much. And I hear California Mormons are different than Utah Mormons, but my point is, only outside of Utah do people believe in any such stereotype about Mormons. When you've lived around them, you know, that shit ain't true. They've integrated into society. They're not like the Amish. In fact, quite the opposite. Jamie Lee of A Plain Truth, I will include the link in the description, did a video recently about the Mormon Battalion. How they're like this with Masons. And in fact, it's hard to distinguish which came from which. And the Mormons claim, in Jamie's video, he says the Mormons say that the Masons took their rites and their rituals of initiation and the penalty for revealing these things. Either way, there's a lot that overlaps. And I was down there at the Salt Lake County Courthouse showing you the dragons all over the side of the building. And on the cornerstone where it shows that the Masons founded this place and laid the cornerstone on this date or that date. The free and accepted Masons. And up pulls Grimm Ghost Tours. One of those synchronistic coincidental timing things. I labeled this video Loch Ness Mother Revelations Confirmed, because she's been demonized and turned into a monster and apparently is revered by the looks and appearances of the Salt Lake County Courthouse. If in any other culture you saw these carvings adorning the building, you would assume this is part of their religion, part of their culture. Here we think it's just pretty pictures. Grimm Ghost Tours pulls up, I'll include the links in the description of this, and points out the very smallest little depiction of this dragon that's not even like a 3D carving, it's just a little tiny stamp into the concrete, like this big. Instead of all the other ones that are on every corner of the building hanging off like griffins off a Gothic cathedral, she points out the one that's like a little stamp. And asks anyone if you know what that is, and I had already been filming, Sean, look at the dragon there, dragon there, dragon there. So I pop up from the background, it's a dragon! And she's like, who is this guy? He's not even with our tour, but a dragon, huh? Okay. Anyone else? And someone said like maybe a griffin or this or that. She said, that's Utah's lake monster. And that the early settlers reported sightings of this. And she said, not all lake monsters look like Loch Ness. that early Mormon settlers, the ones who built that Salt Lake County courthouse, there were rumors of sightings of this lake monster.